the break that we would get into a question asked in the Tampa Bay Times at tampabay.com from our friend John Romano, who was just on the show last week. And basically was saying that even though he's got a big old new contract, potentially, is Baker Mayfield still a bargain when it comes to quarterbacks in the NFL? And here's why. His contract, as you probably know, has $50 million guaranteed. You may or may not realize it's going to pay him about $33 million a year. When you compare that to some of the other contracts in the NFL, and these are all in the article on the Tampa Bay Times from John Romano, the new contract for Trevor Lawrence is going to give him about $55 million a year. Jared Goff's making about $53 million a year. Kirk Cousins, $45 million a year. And the great Daniel Jones of the New York Football Giants is making about $40 million a year. So even Daniel Jones, the smallest contract in that list, $7 million more per year than Baker Mayfield.
If the Buccaneers win the division this year, you're looking at Kirk Cousins making $45 million this year. So if the Bucs win the division, that tells me that you just beat the $45 million a year man. So right there, you have earned your contract because the Buccaneers have $50 million guaranteed to Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
So for $5 extra million, you won the division if you go out and win this year. So
and
right
they've got
there,
$100 million into Kirk.
Yes, and you can get them right there. That $50 million is all you have into Baker Mayfield. So you look at it as an investment. Some people can look at it as a 2-year investment, and then you're off the hook. But the way we're looking at these contracts, Goff making 53, Jones making 40, Kirk Cousins making 45, Lawrence now making 55.
You know what the best one of those sounds like to me, though? Believe it or not, is the $53 million.
Jared Goff.
To Jared Goff.
I agree.
I think he's the most likely to win for you at that ridiculous price.
And that team, I think, is the most ready to win over the Jaguars and over the Atlanta Falcons and certainly over the Giants as well. So
the Jaguars are going to pop up on us one year, right? They remind me of the Arizona Cardinals. Remember what I was saying about? I've always said about the Cardinals. They were hot. Everybody thought they were going to do something. They never did until Kurt Warner got there, and out of nowhere, when nobody believed in them, they were good. As soon as we all stop believing the Jaguars have a chance, they're going to pop up and go to a Super Bowl.
They did that a couple years ago in the championship game.
Yeah,
they went from horrible to getting in them to finding themselves in a championship game. So I think that you look at these quarterbacks and you look at Baker Mayfield and you have to start thinking now. $50 million is all you're on the hook for Baker. That's a steal. Let's say everything goes wrong this year.
It's not a steal if everything goes wrong.
I think if everything goes horrifically wrong, then you start looking elsewhere. But I think if things go bad this year, you're still giving Baker another chance to be your starting quarterback next year.
I'll say this, and I said Baker's got to, in my opinion, Baker in the offense has to ascend. It has to get better this season than it was a year ago if he's a guy that I'm personally believing in as far as building a team around moving forward. Hey, maybe we can win a Super Bowl with this guy. I need to see the offense ascend this year. If that doesn't happen and they decide to move on after the season, which they can do the way this contract has been put together, then I won't say it was a bargain. I'll say you paid the guy market value, basically, for who he was, right? And then market value may have gone up after you signed him with some other deals, but you paid the guy market value for what he was, maybe a little bit under market value, maybe. But if you move on after a year, was it a bargain? I don't think so.
And by the way, I want to correct something. I was just looking at it just to make sure. That year after Urban Meyer year for the Jags did win a playoff game. They didn't get to the conference championship game, but still obviously a big turnaround.
They were on the doorstep.
They were on the doorstep.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, that's a turnaround. They're a team that can turn things around quickly. But yeah, I think you've got a bargain and potentially a steal with Baker Mayfield. If they win the division this year, that's it. Then it's a steal.
If he's a guy that you decide to move forward with and build the team around, this is a bargain. Without question. If you're like, hey, let's go into 2025, let's go into 2026 with Baker Mayfield, then what we're sitting on right now is a bargain. If you decide to move on, I think he's just a guy you paid market value to be a guy for a year or two.